Welcome to the MMA Cycles and Fun Astrology Podcasts, plural, Saturday edition. Hi, I'm Thomas Miller, and this is the MMA free weekly column for the week beginning June 19th, 2023, recorded on June 17th, Saturday. Thanks so much for stopping by. This is the short market commentary that is published weekly on Friday nights at MMAcycles.com. If you'd like to go there yourself, go to the website, and it's in the upper right. You'll see the direct link there. And these are the comments of really the dean of financial astrology, or at least certainly one of the longest-standing financial advisors who also incorporates astrology into his work, Ray Merriman. Always beginning with a couple of news quotes. This one from the UBS morning audio comment on Thursday, June 15th, from Dr. Paul Donovan. He said, "The Federal Reserve did not change interest rates. It was a skip, according to Fed Chair Powell. The press conference presumably did intend to sound hawkish, and presumably did not intend to sound economically incoherent. The fabled dot plots signaled 2 rate hikes, given how these are prepared. They are unlikely to be a coordinated Fed message." Powell said pausing allowed the Fed to get more information before making decisions. At a time when data is less reliable, pausing to reflect should be a way of life for policymakers, not a revelation at the 11th hour. End quote. I love that last line. May I say it again? At a time when data is less reliable, pausing to reflect should be a way of life for policymakers, not a revelation at the 11th hour. Great stuff. And then this, from Merriam-Webster.com, a website I use as an audiobook narrator all the time. In English, redux describes things that have been brought back, metaphorically that is. For example, if the relationship between two nations resembles that of the United States and the Soviet Union in the late 20th century, one might call that situation a Cold War redux. End quote. Ray's comments. Things are looking up for the global equity markets after their strong showing last week. Some, like the German DAX, soared to a new all-time high on Friday. Others, like the Indian Nifty Index, are testing their all-time highs. The Japanese Nikkei exploded to multi-decade highs, while other indices look poised to do the same shortly. However, the powerful ringed planet Saturn turns retrograde today, Saturday, the 17th. At the same time, it forms a favorable sextile aspect with Jupiter, the largest planet in the solar system. Could it be that the elusive sound of a gong everyone is looking for to announce the top of the global economy and markets is nearby? It's always a possibility. And the sentiment is surely bullish, so very few are expecting it. But these are the conditions under which tops form, and the cosmic signatures from mid-June through late July give the gong show redux added gravitas. In other markets this week, the dollar is back above the 140 mark against the yen, but strangely enough, the euro is testing its yearly high against the U.S. dollar. It's not the dollar that is the leader, but rather it is the buffer between other currencies, some of which are rising and others falling. This is causing a mixed impact on gold and silver. Gold fell to a new cycle low in the August contract when it fell to 1936 on Thursday, before rising again all the way to 1980 the very next day. Silver did not make a new cycle low on Thursday's decline back to 23.27, but by Friday it too was up nicely to a high of 24.29. Bitcoin, like gold, also fell to a new cycle low on Thursday and then bounced back smartly by over $1,700 on Friday. Now the short-term geocosmics and longer-term thoughts. Here's a quote from foxbusiness.com on Thursday. Congress may have ducked a federal default by voting to lift the debt ceiling 2 weeks ago, but the real challenge may come in September. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy has made it clear that he will not allow lawmakers to cram together a potpourri of appropriations bills into an omnibus behemoth and pass that to avert a government shutdown. He wants the House to consider each of the 12 spending bills one by one. This is why it could be a monster to fund the government this fall and avert a shutdown by September 30th, the end of the federal fiscal year." End quote. And this from the Wall Street Journal on Friday. Rainer Zeidelman's article, Adam Smith's Solution to Poverty. Poverty, according to Adam Smith, was not preordained, and above all, he didn't trust government. He points out that only economic growth can raise living standards. Continuous economic growth is the only way to raise wages, and a stagnant economy leads to falling wages. Elsewhere, he writes that famines are the result of government price controls. While Karl Marx claimed nearly a century later that capitalism would lead to growing impoverishment for workers, Smith predicted that economic growth would lead to an increase in living standards. End quote. Ray writes, Pluto retrograded back into Capricorn this past week, and it will remain there until January 23rd. Thus, many of the themes involving debt, deficits, taxes, and the power of governments over the people that were present from January 2008 through March of this year, 2023, are due to return. This is apt to be especially critical for the United States, whose natal or founding Moon-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn will be ignited once again. In truth, it never ceased, and won't cease for at least 2 more years, because that's how long Pluto's incubation period requires to manifest the consequences of decisions made under its transiting aspect to a natal planet. Now, shorter term, there are 3 periods that stand out in June and July of this year. First is right now, as Saturn turns retrograde today, Saturday, and is in a favorable sextile with Jupiter as noted earlier. Additionally, the Sun squares Neptune this weekend. That's tomorrow night, Sunday night, late in the United States, creating a powerful geocosmic reversal zone. Second, financial astrologer Rob Robinson reminds us via the ISAR financial chat room that transiting Mars and Uranus will square one another in late June, touching off the New York Stock Exchange Mercury-Pluto square at the same time. Neptune just happens to turn retrograde then too, which is one of the very strongest correlations to primary cycles in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Third, Venus turns retrograde on July 22nd, another powerful reversal signal, which was also present at the low of the dot-com bubble from the NASDAQ stock market crash in October of 2002. That's when the NASDAQ lost 80% of its value, and also the Great Recession low of March 6th to 9th, 2009. It also unfolded within 2 weeks of the all-time high of the Dow Jones Industrial Average back on January 5th, 2022. Thus, the entire period from now through the end of July is vulnerable to a cosmic version of For Whom the Bell, or Gong, Tolls. Listen carefully, because it may happen when nobody is listening. Neptune highlighted prefers silence when activities are nearly invisible and unnoticed. The Sun squares Neptune this weekend, and then Neptune turns retrograde on June 30th, and Jupiter will make a semi-square to Neptune on July 22nd. But it may not be that quiet in late July, for the almost too loud Mars-Saturn and Sun-Pluto oppositions will also be thunderous July 20th and 21st. That's a combination that probably can't avoid being heard or seen. That's a cannon blast from deep within the Earth's surface, or well below its waterline. Investors and refugees could be in a rush to get their life vest on at some point in June or July, for any time we see Jupiter in a hard aspect with Neptune, it may coincide with a climate of irrational exuberance, euphoria, or hysteria. The latter, hysteria, follows the former. That's the commentary this week from Ray Merriman and MMAcycles.com. The only tag that I have to this is so many people were looking for the market actually to sell off, and it turned around and did exactly the other after this Fed rate announcement this week, and it rocketed up, up, and up. The other significant thing is Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen this week, in a congressional hearing, said to expect a gradual decline in the dollar's share of global reserves. And the dollar took an absolute nosedive on that news. So even this weekend, with Saturn turning retrograde and the Sun squaring Neptune, one has to ask, what's really going on here? And I would possibly revisit that old scripture that says, the meek shall inherit the earth, to say, the conscious shall inherit the earth. Well, we're doing our part to stay conscious here every Saturday with MMAcycles.com and then Monday through Friday on the Fun Astrology Podcast. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. See you back here on Monday.